Hi sewing friends, I'm Karina from Lifting Pins and Needles. Welcome to my channel. Today I want to show you a little bit more about the Olympia dress from Love Notions. Now I did show you a sneak peek last Friday on my plans video because that pattern was actually on sale that day. So I wanted to show it so you could know that it was on sale. And but I've got more things to show you now. So this dress is really cool. It's got a V neckline, and the way the neckline is constructed is really interesting. It's quite similar to the way you would construct a short collar on a blouse or a blazer, but actually there's no like lapel. So this construction method gives you a really crispy V without needing to use a neckband, you know, so I think it's really interesting. And there's also at the front, there's a center seam there. There is a maternity option there in the instructions if you wanted to put a zipper in there, or you could just put a zipper in there for looks because zippers are cool, you know. The bodice is fitted. There is a seam at the waistline, at the natural waist, and then comes a flared quarter circle skirt, I would say, with inseam pockets and different lengths up to a maxi. I chose 3/4 length sleeves, but there are 5 sleeve lengths there that you can choose from. This pattern recommends light to medium weight knits with nice drape and at least 25% stretch. I've chosen Rayon spandex, which is the most common knit I can find here that is like cool and soft and comfortable. You know, you can choose cotton spandex. I can never find that here. ITY. If you choose a medium weight knit like Liverpool or Ponte, I think this would look even nicer, like even crispier. So yeah, about the sizing, as usual, Love Notions has a sizing from extra small to extra large, from a high bust of 31 to 47 inches and a waist of 26.5 to 41.5 inches. Now it mentions the high bust because there are cup sizes available in this pattern. So according to the difference between your high bust and your full bust, you choose your cup size. I chose a C cup and I chose size L because the high bust there is 38 inches and that is what my high bust measures. There is negative ease, of course. It is a knit garment. You can't expect knit garments to have positive ease or unless you want like something super baggy. But the negative ease around the bust is about 4 inches and around the waist 1.5 inches. Now what I'm going to show you in this video is little things I did to save a lot of fabric, because I only had 1.5 meters and I always buy 1.5 meters for everything, and I try my best to make anything with 1.5 meters, and I did do it. And also I want to show you how all this neckline is constructed. Very simple. You're going to see it's not scary, it's not hard at all, and it has a really nice result. So let's hop into that. Here's the front bodice piece for a C cup. That's the cup I'm sewing, and there are 2 bodice lengths there, and it all depends on the type of view you're making, the type of fabric, if it's heavy or if it has vertical stretch. I'm using the short bodice because I am usually short waisted anyway, so that is what I'm choosing, and I'm just going to fold that back, do the same with the back. Yeah, I think that's really thoughtful to think what fabric to use. There's optional lines there if you want to make a sleeveless version. Back and front, you could just fold those under if that's what you were going to do. I've placed my bodice pieces there in a way to save a lot of fabric. So that area there is on the fold for the back, and then the front there is on, you know, flipped. There are some pivot points that you need to mark on your pattern pieces. I've marked them there with some pen there. That is where you pivot on the neckline. So I've done that. And the skirt pieces, there's only one pattern piece, and the difference is where you cut the front and the back. The front is slightly narrower. Now to get it to fit into one length of fabric, I'm going to make this a little bit narrower, the skirt, just a tad. And I've managed to place them there on one length of fabric. So I've marked there the front piece that's on the fold with chalk there. You can see it matches right at the side there with the back, where I've made it slightly narrower, and that is just to save me a lot of fabric. I'm adding a back seam to the back. As you can see, I've left about 3/8 of an inch there to have seam allowance for that. That's all you need really. I don't mind putting a back seam anywhere if it's going to save me a lot of fabric, and a print you can't tell. Now I'm going to start by sewing this front pattern piece right sides together to that pivot point there, and then keep going. So it's like you're sewing a sort of V. And I'm going to show you a close-up here, speeding along this part there. When I'm about to reach that pivot point, I do hand wheel. Hand wheeling is something I do a lot just to get precise sewing, especially when I need to match points exactly like that. So this is real time. It hasn't been like fast forward. So there I'm pivoting around, and now I can start stitching again nice and quickly all the way down to the end of this V. Now after you've done this V, you need to get your scissors and clip into that up to the point but not through it. Now this is something that always makes me very nervous to do, but heck, you know, you have to do it to get it, you know, nice and accurate. So up to there but not through it, as you can see. And then I have serged both of these edges separately, as you can see, and I'm going to flip this around so you can see how this looks like. It's very interesting actually, because when you flip this over, it looks like a sort of facing, but it's not. It's sort of like folded onto itself, and it gives that really crispy V neckline there. I'm going to serge these edges now before I continue with the rest of the steps. Here you can see I've serged those edges there. That's already been finished, and now I'm keeping the pieces together, right sides together, and I'm going to sew that shawl collar piece at the top, and I'm doing zigzag here. Now I'm doing zigzag in some areas and straight stitch on other areas. I'm gonna go ahead and open this, and it's gonna look really strange, but there we go. We have that center seam there, and then this flabby bit that makes a V right there, and it's like it's got a facing but folded under, so it's not like a separate piece. And when I finish this, I'm going to press one of these seams one side, and for this one the other, and then up here, because we've already done that center seam there on the collar, we're going to fold it onto each other there, and then this bit is going to match that corner there, and this bit is going to match this corner there. Inside, on the wrong side of my fabric, I have 2 dots here, and those were marked on the pattern, so I'm just going to match those up one on top of each other, and I'm going to pin those, and I'm going to do that on that side too. There are the dots there, a dot there, and a dot there. What I'm going to be sewing is a rectangle, so straight stitch there to that point that I marked there with my pin, pivot, another straight stitch here to the point over there, pivot, and then finish off that shoulder seam. Here I'm sewing up to that first pivot point. Now I sew almost up to my pin. I hand wheel, as you can see, it's a favorite thing of mine, up to where the pin starts there. I know that is the point that I marked, and then I just remove that pin, lift my thingy, and then pivot and keep sewing straight across the back of this shawl collar. Yeah, just straight line there until you reach the other pivot point. Do the same thing right there on top of that needle. I know this is unconventional, but it's the way I sew until you finish that. Now there is that point there, hard to see because I'm sewing in red, you know, but I have to clip up to that point to it, not through it, and you can see it opens up there. Here's the front piece semi-completed. So you've seen me sew up that shoulder seam, pivot, go through the neck, pivot, and I have clipped those little points there up to the dot. Now I'm going to throw the back piece on top. So when you clipped those little corners there to the points, this basically becomes a straight seam, if you can see it. So I just have to line up these shoulder seams there, and there's a little pivot point there on the shoulder there that I have to continue here and up all the way around, and then it's just like one continuous stitch basically. I've got it pinned. You can see the point there where I need to pivot again. There's lots of pivoting going on, but it's not hard. You have to be careful to not catch any weird puckers there at the back on the other side. So then I'm just going to sew this. You can see I'm reaching that pivot point again, hand wheeling. You've seen that a lot in this make. I don't mind doing that. You know, if you're going to get a precise result, you've got to be careful on the other side. You're not getting any puckers. And when you pivot, you've got to turn this around. and then keep sewing the back of this collar. Shove all the fabric that's underneath to the other side so you don't catch it, and then keep sewing until the next pivot point, and then finish at the shoulder seam. That was very quickly done, wasn't it? And here we can see how it's been sewn there. I'm doing straight stitch for this because I really want precise sewing. I have serged all those edges together, and that collar is done. Now I can finish doing the rest. Okay, so I hope that was easy to watch. Maybe you noticed that I was doing some zigzags for some seams and straight stitch for others, and that is the way I sew. I don't think the neckline could be constructed just on the overlocker for this dress, because you need really crisp points where you pivot, as you saw me pivoting like 1,000 times. I think that needs to be done with a straight stitch. Now, shoulder seams, side seams, the sleeves, the waist, the side seams of the skirt, all that I did with my zigzag stitch, because that's what I use for sewing. I don't just serge my knits. My serger does not do that. My serger is semi-industrial that only finishes seams, but it doesn't have the strength to actually keep a seam, you know, so that's why you don't ever see me doing that with knits. I'm always on my tippy toes so I can get in the frame, but you can see it's nicely fitted here at the waist, and then it's got this skirt. I don't think you can tell, I took out about 1 inch on each side. I had to do that or else I couldn't get it out of the fabric I had. It's fitted but not excessively tight, you know. And I think this fabric is special for this. It's gonna keep me cool and have drape and flow like I want it to. Cool, that's all I wanted to show you. I'm gonna make another one. I'm surely gonna make it sleeveless. I have a few cuts of fabric that are not that much, so I'm gonna go with the sleeveless length. I just thought, you know, the snake around all of my arms would be cool. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share, and I will see you soon in the next video. Bye!